actually spoke to your sister? Was it at the same time?
Yes. That's when we were discussing what time they're gonna go to Big Bear the coming weekend.
And have you had any contact, either through Facebook Messenger, text message, cell phone, from your sister since January 7th, 2021?
No.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no other questions.
I guess I've got a question or two before we go into cross-examination. When you spoke to the defendant on Saturday morning, and he told you that he thought May have gone hiking or out with friends, did you ask him if she came home the prior night?
No.
Did he say anything about her coming home and then going out again?
No.
And you didn't ask?
I did not ask.
Right. Okay, cross-examination.
Good morning, Mr. Tavalanza.
Good morning.
Mr. Millete and you have a close relationship as a brother and brother-in-law. Is that right?
I could say that, yes.
And you've known him for the last, 20 plus years.
That's correct.
And during that time of your relationship, was there any events that caused you to dislike Mr. Millete?
No.
When your sister went missing, did you have an independent thoughts about what happened to her?
No.
When did you first suspect that Mr. Millete had something to do with your sister's disappearance?
Repeat the question, please.
When did you first suspect that Mr. Millete had something to do with your sister's May disappearance?
When he changed his statement when I spoke to him that Saturday.
Saturday, January the 9th?
Yes.
Okay. So you arrived at Mr. Milete's home at Paseo Los Gatos at what time on January the 9th? If you did.
I did not go to.
Okay. So January the 9th, you did not talk to Mr. Millete.
I did spoke to him over the phone only.
All right. So this conversation on the telephone on January 9th, 2021, you did ask Mr. Millete where your sister was, and he said perhaps hiking, maybe brunch with the friends. Did he make inconsistent statements on that day to you?
That's his statement to me.
Did he say anything that caused you to suspect on January 9, 2021, that Mr. Millete had something to do with your sister's disappearance?
Yes.
An answer.
His statement changed from the prior conversation that we had on January the 8th.
Could you-
I'll allow, I'll withdraw mine, Judge.
Okay. Could you please clarify the change of stories on January the 9th, 2021? Exactly what happened on January 9, 2021?
I asked him where did he go yesterday on the January 8th, and then he told me he just went drive around. And then I asked him where, drive around. That's his answer. And then He said he's been beating his son Lazarus French fries all day.
So you talked to him earlier on January the 8th, 2021.
Yes, when he FaceTimed me at nighttime.
Okay. And then you asked him on January 8th, 2021 where he was that day.
Yes.
And he told you
Counsel.
he was at work.
Counsel.
Okay.
Asked and answered.
All right, Jenna. On January the 9th, 2021, when you already suspected Mr. Millete had some part, what exactly did you think on January 9, 2021?
Objection, relevance,
Sustained.
and vague.
Relevance.
Did you call the police?
No.
Did you tell anyone that you suspected Mr. Millete had a part in your sister's disappearance?
Objection, relevance.
And calls for hearsay. Sustained.
You arrived at Mr. Millete's house on Sunday, January 10, 2021, right?
That's correct.
And the first thing you did was what?
Go around the house, check where my sister is.
What did you do to check on your sister?
Go check on the master bedroom.
Anywhere else did you look for her?
I look all over.
You just looked at the master's bedroom?
Yes. And I went to check the DVR on their camcorder at the house for their cameras.
Did you look at the vehicles?
Not really.
Now, how long were you speaking to Mr. Millete on January the 10th, 2021, after you suspected he had something to do with your missing sister?
Objection, assumes facts, not evidence.
Well, I think he said he had some concerns.
I didn't hear that he said he spoke to him on the 10th.
Well, I'll allow it. Well, actually, okay. Sustain. Assuming that's not an evidence. You can ask him if he did speak to him on Sunday.
Did you speak to your sister on January 10? Excuse me. Did you speak to Mr. Millete on January 8, 2021?
You've already asked about the 8th, which was Friday, and you were asking about Sunday, which is the 10th.
The
Is that
10th.
the day you mean?
The 10th, 2021.
So we went to the house on Sunday, the 10th. Did you speak to him?
I don't remember.
Did you participate in the party, the birthday party for Mr. Millete's son, Lazarus?
All right, counsel, that's on roll.
And objection, misstates testimony.
Yes, it was
Your daughter.
really far. But anyway,
Okay.
so it's not.
What? Okay, so you arrived at your sister's house at Paseo Los Gatos. What was the scene when you arrived? Were people inside? Were they talking? Were they relaxing? Were they what? What were they doing?
All right, why is this relevant? That's my question to you to justify that question.
Yeah, he was worried and suspected that his brother-in-law had something to do with his sister's disappearance. Obviously, I wanted to know, was everybody suspecting or reasonable, or did he tell them? I think he has something to do with this. Let's go and find her. Let's not have a party. Let's not buy food. Let's just go out there and look for her. Let's call the police right now.
Your response to that, Ms. Bowles?
That they chose to attempt to celebrate their niece's birthday when her mother was missing has no bearing on a probable cause determination in this case and whether or not the defendant committed this crime.
Okay. It does appear as if this is more of a discovery-related question. It also is, frankly, it is beyond the scope of the direct examination. I'm going to sustain it on those grounds.
Was there singing in Mr. Milete's house on January the 10th, 2021?
Objection, relevance, beyond the scope.
Sustained on both grounds. Counsel, this witness has testified to just a limited number of facts regarding his contact with the defendant on those days, and you are going to keep your cross-examination to that subject matter.
I understand that, Your Honor. I just wanted to elicit testimony regarding what he observed, whether he's the only one. Or let me just ask him.
I have made my ruling, you don't have to say anything else.
When you arrived at the Millete residence on January 10, 2021, did you discuss your suspicion to any of the members of your family at that time?
No.
Did anyone from your family express to you at January 10, 2021, that they too believe that Mr. Millete had something to do with your sister's disappearance?
That's also not relevant, and it's beyond the scope of this witness's testimony.
Throughout 2020, you knew that Mr. Millete was asking you and your family members for help. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And you knew the problems that your sister and Mr. Millete was having in 2020.
That's correct.
And eventually, Mr. Millete told you that he caught your sister cheating and having an affair with another man.
Yes, he did.
How did you feel about that?
Objection, relevant.
Sustained.
You were expressing your sympathy with Mr. Millete, did you not?
I don't remember.
Did you have an opportunity to discuss with Mrs. Millete what Mr. Millete reported to you regarding the affair?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Rephrase the question, please.
Oh, no, I've sustained the objection, you do not have to answer.
Okay, sorry.
After Mr. Millete told you about Mrs. Millete's affair with another man, did Mr. Millete tell you what he was going to do to your sister?
Okay. Are these facts in evidence or not? She refers to it as an affair.
Well, I don't think we've had testimony about the defendant's suspicions of an affair. That is in evidence at this point.
All right, so you can rephrase. So
Okay,
it's not-
Yana.
It's not a proven fact. You may ask questions based on his belief of that.
Let me just move on, Yana. How did you, when you found out about the serious problem that Mr. Millete was having with his wife, did you continue to communicate with Mr. Millete?
Yes.
Where were you when Mr. Millete told you about his problem the first time regarding the affair? Were you with him?
I don't remember.
And in fact, he told you that he was not agreeable to do a separation, correct?
Yes.
And he wanted your help to convince Mrs. Millete to stay in the marriage. And you promised to help.
That's the whole question. Yes or no?
Say it again.
Pardon? Yes or no, sir? Do you want the question repeated?
Please.
Okay. Let's go read that.
Question, and he wanted your help to convince Mrs. Millete to stay in the marriage, and you promised to help?
I don't remember if I promised him to help him.
Did you give him some advice?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember that after you gave him advice, you asked him what he was going to do about your sister having an affair? Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Was that the same time when you were talking to him that he brought up what you testified, the idea of hiring a hitman and paying $20,000 for that purpose?
No.
So when was that? Where were you when you were discussing about this possible hitman that you were going to look for him?
At my house, January 25.
That was Christmas Day.
That mistakes the witness's testimony. He did not say he was going to help them look for
Okay.
a person. His
No.
testimony was he did
Yeah.
not want to participate in that. So please do not
Okay.
mistake the witness's testimony.
I just want to ask him about the first occasion where they discussed, according to the witness,
Let's
that
rephrase your question.
yeah, let me just go into that and get in and out of it. Okay. So when did Mr. Millete first discuss or ask you to hire someone? And
It's over the phone, probably somewhere in June.
June of 2020?
That's correct.
Okay. And
The second time that I remember is December 25, when he was asking me again about.
let's deal with the first time first, okay? So he called you?
That's
Counsel, he said it was over the phone. He's testified to this incorrect. I'm not going to let you go into every minutia of that phone call.
Did you ask him about what he was planning to do about finding this person? What exactly was your job to do?
rephrase the question.
When Mr. Millete first asked you about looking for a person to kill someone and pay $20,000? What was your understanding what you were supposed to do?
That's actually misstating the witness's testimony. He never said kill. He said get. He did not say kill.
Let me clarify, John. What exactly did Mr. Millete tell you about finding someone to do a job for him and paying $20,000? Did he offer to pay $20,000 during the first time he talked to you?
Let's compound. What's your question? Let's ask two questions.
Okay. Let me go back to the prior question, Your Honor, if he understood what his job was supposed to be. During this first conversation you had regarding a hitman, did you understand what your job was supposed to be?
I'm not going to.
I'm
I'm
gonna
going
be
to-
vague and
Yes.
Oh, okay,
And it's
Your Honor.
argumentative.
Oh, all right. Well,
You can ask, sir, when he first raised the issue of asking your help to get someone, what did you understand your role to be in that request?
He was asking me only if I know somebody.
did he ask you to look for somebody?
No, he did not.
Okay. So he just asked you if you knew someone to do what?
To get that cat, that's it. Get that guy.
To get that guy.
Yeah.
Did you have an understanding who that guy was? Yes, no? Is that a yes?
It could be the guy that he was suspecting.
So you don't have any idea who that guy was?
objection, lack of foundation, asked and answered.
Asked and answered.
Okay. Well, he was just shaking his head, Your Honor. He didn't have a verbal response.
Well, it doesn't matter now.
Okay.
Because the question's not allowed.
Were you concerned with Mr. Millete when he told you that?
Objection, vague as to time.
Vague as to which incident? So during the first incident, were you it's a vague question.
Well,
As to
okay.
concern also.
During this telephone conversation with Mr. Millete, you've been talking for how long now? 2 minutes? 1 minute? About if you know somebody
Okay.
to get the guy?
We're going to move on. He's answered his questions about those phone calls.
Okay, Your Honor, I just want to,
Counsel, when I make a ruling, I don't want you to explain
Okay.
why you were asking the question. When the court makes a ruling, any court makes a ruling, that's it. You move on.
Your Honor, I'm having a little difficulty hearing you.
Move on.
Okay, thank you. After this phone call, did you tell your sister, May Millete, about Mr. Millete's inquiry about whether you know somebody to get the guy?
No.
Is that a no?
He said no.
Okay. Now, you went on and testified that Mr. Millete brought that up to you again during the trip to Glamis on New Year's Day.
All right, there's been enough
Okay.
testimony regarding
All right, now,
this request, so do not ask any more questions about it. It's asked and answered.
I want to ask him about, Mr. Tavalanza, you had a party on December 25, 2020. Is that right?
That's correct.
During that celebration, did Mr. Millete bring up the subject matter about hiring, or if you know somebody who would take care of the other guy?
I thought I said that already in my testimony earlier.
I didn't hear the response yet.
Come on now.
Was that the same time on December 25, 2021 that Mr. Millete told you he was willing to pay $20,000 to get somebody to get the other guy?
Right, it's 2020, not 2021.
I'm sorry, Annie. 2020.
Dude, what are you doing?
Do you have his number? Nobody has his number. I mean, you can't do anything about it.
Was that the time that Mr. Millete told you about paying the $20,000?
That's correct.
Okay, what were his exact words to you during that glamorous trip?
He said if anyone would take 20,000 and then I'll give you 4,000 because for all your troubles, that's what he was telling me. And I told him I don't want to get involved.
Did you give him any advice at that time?
No,
Did you tell your sister about what he was planning to do?
no,
Did you report it to the police?
no.
Isn't it true that Mr. Millete never asked you to get somebody or hire somebody to get the other guy and he would pay $20,000 for that job? Isn't it true that he was talking to you about
Counsel.
purchasing?
Compound,
Okay,
rephrase.
let me rephrase. In fact, do you recall he was asking you, or he was telling you that he was interested in purchasing a fully automatic lower receiver? You remember that?
That's vague. I don't understand the question.
Okay.
We have to rephrase.
Mr. Millete was discussing with you those times that you said he was asking you if you know someone who could get the other guy. He was actually talking to you about buying a piece of a firearm, a receiver component. You remember that?
Never haven't talking about guns.
And that further he told you, he asked you if you know someone who may have that part of the component.
We never discussed anything about guns.
And that he knew that once you told him you knew a person that is in Canada who may own that part of the firearm that he wanted to buy.
All right, asked and answered. He said they never had any discussion about
Okay.
this.
And do you recall that he offered $15,000 to $20,000 to buy that part? Do you recall that?
Objection after me.
Sustained.
And he never discussed with you about hiring someone or asking you if you know someone to get the other guy.
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
during these entire 20 years that you know Mr. Millete, you knew that he has not been violent to your sister May, correct?
Objection, vague, and calls for speculation.
Sustained. You can rephrase.
If you knew that Mr. Millete was asking you to commit a crime, you would stop him, correct?
Yes,
And you would not hesitate to tell him that, don't do that, you'll get in trouble, right?
I did advise him.
Why is it that you told the police officers that you were paying him off? What paying him off?
Shit.
You made statements that you were playing, when Mr. Millete asked you to find someone who would get the other guy, you indicated that you played him off and you were willing to find that other guy. Why did you do that?
Objection, vague, as to why did you do that, what is that, and vague as to what statement we're talking about.
Staying
Okay,
on
well-
both grounds, if you can point to the specific statement that he made on a certain day to a specific police officer, you may inquire about that prior statement as to whether it's consistent or inconsistent with his court testimony.
Okay, Your Honor, let me just. On January 28, 2021, you gave statements to a police officer. Do you remember that?
If you do, sir, you can say you remember it. If you don't remember it, then you may tell me that, and then we'll see how counsel goes from there.
Rephrase the question again.
On January 28, 2021, you gave statements to Chula Vista police officer. Do you recall?
I did do some statement, but I don't remember everything what I said at the time.
Okay. Will it refresh your recollection? I will read your statement.
No, counsel, that is not the way to properly refresh his recollection.
Okay. Do you recall that you told them August or September of 2020?
Counsel,
Objection,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
proper impeachment.
sustained, that is improper impeachment.
Oh, okay. Do you recall, Larry, Mr. Millete asked you that if you knew someone who could get the other guy, and you said you played it off, and you would ask around, why did you play it off?
Objection. Misstates the statement.
It's improper impeachment, and I will sustain the objection.
Well, during these times that Mr. Millete kept asking you about getting someone, did you ever give him the impression that you were playing it off?
Objection, it calls for speculation. as to what impression he gave the defendant.
It's vague. Sustained.
Did you tell Mr. Millete that you were going to ask around after he told you, after he asked you if you knew someone to get the other guy?
I don't remember.
The officer at that time of that statement on January 28, 2021, whether you understood what Mr. Millete meant by getting the other guy.
Objection, ask and answer.
Actually, the issue is whether he recalls telling the officer that. So, I'll sustain an objection to the form of the question.
Mr. Tabalanza, did you have an understanding what Mr. Millete meant by getting the other guy?
Asked and answered.
Okay. And now, during this New York trip to Glamis, you were driving with Mr. Millete inside the Jeep? Is that right?
That's correct.
And Mr. Millete was driving crazy?
He was driving way too fast.
Okay. And he asked you again, according to your testimony, about finding someone to get the other guy. You told him you didn't know anyone, right? Is that right?
I don't remember. I told him I don't know anyone.
Do you remember telling him you will continue looking around?
I did not.
During that time, when he was asking you about looking for a person to get the other guy, you believe that your sister May was not in any danger. Is that right?
That's correct.
Was it your understanding that this other guy that Mr. Millete was asking you to take care or to find somebody to get this other guy, did you believe that the other guy had some relationship with your sister,
Objection,
May
relevant.
Millete?
Sustained.
Did you think that the other guy was related to your sister, May Millete?
Objection, vague and relevance.
Sustained. That relevance.
When you were having this conversation with him in the Jeep, did you have any thoughts that this person is related to your sister?
Same objection.
Relevance. Relevance. The objection is sustained.
How would you describe your sister and Mr. Millete's relationship during the time of the New Year's trip in Glamis?
Rephrase the question.
During the trip, New Year's 2021, while you were in Glamis, with your family and Mr. and Mrs. Millete. What did you observe? Describe the relationship between your sister and Mr. Millete. Did you observe?
Counsel, calm down. Your questions are bleeding into each other.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Can you describe Mr. and Mrs. Milete's relationship when you were in Glamis during New Year's 2021?
My sister's basically not talking to him.
So, when you say basically not talking to him, they did not talk to each other at all?
No.
Counsel.
And was that
Ask an
unusual to you?
answer.
I'm sorry.
Say that again.
No, it's fine. Please. Next question.
Do you know the reason why your sister was not talking to Mr. Millete?
Objection relevance.
Sustained.
How long, if you know, did Mr. and Mrs. Millete stay with the group in Glamis?
Objection vague.
Relevance. Sustained.
During the trip to Glamis that you spoke about, how long, if you know, did Mr. and Mrs. Millete stay in Glamis
You just asked that
during
question.
the trip?
You just asked that question.
Oh,
and
okay.
Sustained the relevance objection.
Isn't it true that when you were in Glamis, you were also talking to Mr. Millete regarding their finances?
No, we don't talk about finances.
You testified about that week of January the 4th, 2021, and you recalled seeing a Facebook Messenger posted by your sister May. Did your sister plan on January the 4th, 2021 for the trip? When you were talking to her on January 4th, 2021, did she talk to you about the trip to Big Bear?
We never spoke on General Report. It's
Did you-
just a messenger.
Okay, so you and her spoke through Facebook Messenger, right?
That's correct. She was planning for lift tickets and everything for
She-
kids.
She was the one that was planning the trip.
That's correct.
And the plan was, that is your sister's plan, was to get there in Glamis sometime on January the 8th, 2021. Correct?
It's not Glamis, it's Big Bear.
Did that plan change?
Which, that's vague. Counsel.
You know, I can't hear you.
That's vague, counsel.
Okay, all right, sorry. During the time that you were on the Facebook Messenger, what exactly did you understand your sister's plan was going to be at Big Bear?
On that messenger, she's saying about lift tickets and everything for the kids to go snowboard.
Did she also mention to you in the messenger that she was planning on getting there on January the 8th, 2021?
She did not discuss that in there. But we did spoke on January 2nd when we were at Glamis that she's gonna be there Friday.
And you were going to arrive on Saturday, is that correct?
That's correct. I was planning to go Saturday morning.
Subsequent to that January 4th, 2021 message to you from your sister, did she send you any additional messages regarding your trip to Big Bear?
I don't recall any more messages. I have to see it on the messenger again.
You also knew that your sister was going forward with the divorce, right?
No, I don't know that.
So when you entertained the thought that Mr. Millete had something to do with your sister's disappearance, what did you believe happened to your sister at the time that you're suspecting that had something to do with it?
Do you have no judge?
No?
All right. You can answer.
I really don't know.
The first time you asked Mr. Millete about your sister's whereabouts, that was in January the 10th, 2021, correct?
That's incorrect.
And
After-
that question has been asked and answered as
Okay.
a sequence of events.
After that date, did you call him again or speak to him again personally, asking him where he thought your sister would be?
Which date is it?
After January 10th, 2021 and moving on through the days and weeks, did you ask him again the same question that you asked him on January 10th, 2021?
No.
When you were at their house, at Mr. Milete's house on January 10, 2021, did you ask the children or anyone else if they knew where your sister was?
That's not.
Did you ask the Milete children if they knew where their mother was?
Counsel, didn't you hear me? I said,
Excuse me?
question's not relevant.
Oh, okay.
I'd also object.
Calls for hearsay. So.
When you arrived at your sister's residence in Paseo Los Gatos, were your parents there already?
That's correct.
And did your father speak to you at that time?
It's not relevant. Sustained, not relevant.
When was the last time you text Mr. Millete?
Objection relevance?
Sustained. You can rephrase, maybe there's something relevant, but that general question is too broad.
Beyond the scope.
Isn't it true that you sent Mr. Millete a text stating that you feel pain as
I'm
well?
sorry.
Objection.
Okay, yeah.
You should let her finish her question.
Okay.
Well, I just think it's going to call for hearsay.
Okay.
Let me back up a little bit, Joanna. So, after January 10, 2021, you've spoken personally to Mr. Millete. Did you talk to him again on January the 11th, 2021, regarding your sister?
I don't remember.
Did you text him on January 24, 2021?
I had to see it on my phone record if I did or not.
On January 24, 2021, do you remember that you sent Mr. Millete a text and you told him you stopped by to see him? And you told him, "I love you always, brother." You recall that?
Yes, I told him that.
Further, you text him and said, "No matter what the outcome is on this investigation, I feel your pain." You recall that?
That's correct.
And after an hour, he told you, "Thank you, JP."
Yes, he did, I guess.
You did not reveal to him at that time on January 24, 2021, that you suspected that he had something to do with your sister's disappearance, correct?
Relevance.
The witness testified as early as January 9, 2021. He suspected that Mr. Millete had something to do with her sister's disappearance. But his behavior and his words were not consistent about his feeling that he believed Mr. Millete had anything to do with his sister's disappearance.
Counsel, that's open to interpretation.
Okay.
Mr. Millete is still the father of his nieces and nephews. There's family. They've been intertwined for years.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't find it as the fact finder to be inconsistent, that there might be mixed emotions, concerns about his sister, and still having some feelings of familial affection for the defendant. I also know it's a very religious family. There's all sorts of factors. So to express some type of sympathy for the defendant, I don't find to be completely inconsistent with prior statements. So, next question.
Okay. During that occasion, when you were testing one another back and forth, January 24, 2021, you asked him to help to find your sister, right?
That's correct.
And Mr. Millete responded,
Objection calls for hearsay.
Sustained. And I don't believe this witness was asked about
okay,
efforts to locate her after,
all right.
after the night.
When you went to Mr. Millete's home and searched for your sister, did you find anything suspicious in the house?
Master bedroom is just so neat. It's all fixed up.
When you went to the house on January 10th, 2021, were you looking to see if your sister may have voluntarily left the house?
Objection, lack of foundation calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Did you at any time entertain the thought that perhaps your sister wanted to go somewhere and she didn't say goodbye to anybody?
No.
When was the first time that you started physically looking for your sister after January 10, 2021?
Objection beyond the scope.
Sustained.
Did you look for your sister after January 10, 2021?
Beyond scope.
Okay. When you saw Mr. Millete in his residence on January 10, 2021, you really did not know whether he was shocked or whether it was panic inside, because you didn't really ask him how he was feeling that day, right?
objection calls for hearsay.
No, it's not, she's not asking for a statement.
Not asking for a statement, Your Honor.
I'm going over my notes to see if it was covered or direct.
I'll withdraw the objection.
Okay. Yes. On direct, he said the defendant didn't seem concerned during one of the interactions. Alright, so you can ask your question.
So you testified he appeared unconcerned, or he didn't appear worried. Well, you really didn't know what's going on inside him, correct? Because you didn't ask him.
Rephrase the question again?
Can I have it read back, Your Honor?
No, sir, the gist of the question is, yes, basically, you're not a mind reader, so you don't know what emotions he was feeling on the inside. Is that fair to say?
Okay.
Is that,
Yeah.
yes, sir?
Yeah, I'm not a mind reader, so I don't know how this is emotion.
All right, move on.
In your earlier testimony, you mentioned that you tried to call Mr. Millete on January the 8th, 2020.
That's an answer.
It is, counsel, wrap it up. You've got
I-
a new area that you want to cover, something that the prosecution covered on direct and you haven't gotten to,
Okay.
fine. Otherwise, I think
Okay.
you've gone over every aspect of his direct examination.
He testified that he called
You have a
Mr.
question?
Okay. You testified that you called Mr. Millete on his landline, correct?
That's correct. That's on January the 8th.
And in fact, Mr. Millete do not have a landline.
They do have a landline back then. I still have it on the record on my phone. So I dialed all the numbers that I know for my sister.
Mr. Tabalansa, you knew Larry very well because you and him were close. And he told you that he loves your sister very, very much and he would not do anything to hurt her. You recall that?
I don't remember if he said that.
At no point during these 20 years, you did not believe Miss Millete was in danger because you genuinely thought Larry truly did love your sister May.
Objection,
Right.
relevance to this witness believed.
Sustained.
Okay? And in fact, you knew that Mr. Millete was buying Miss Millete all kinds of items, like he just bought her a Jeep, motorcycle, and other items, correct?
Objection, lack of foundation as to who bought or purchased those items.
That is the question, I suppose. Sustained, you can rephrase.
During 2020, you knew that Mr. Millete bought your sister whatever she wanted, as far as shoes.
Sustained, but I want this question to be answered.
I do so, Your Honor. In November of 2020, you knew your sister and Larry were fighting, and she was talking about divorce. Right?
Counsel, that's been asked and answered.
You knew that Mr. Millete bought her a new Jeep Cherokee that she wanted very much.
Objection, misstates the testimony.
Well, it's a question, I
It was a
suppose.
Jeep-
You can
It
answer.
was a Jeep Wrangler.
Oh, okay. The Wrangler, all right. Who, do you know who purchased the Wrangler?
My sister was happy that she got the Jeep that she wanted. That's all I know. I don't know who purchased the Wrangler.
Your witness.
Yeah, it's fine, we'll go till 10:30.
Mr. Tabalanza, I just have a couple of questions for you based on a question that was asked on cross-examination. You were asked whether or not you had ever entertained the thought that your sister left voluntarily without saying goodbye to anyone. And I believe your answer was no. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you explain what you meant by that answer?
Because every time I talk to my sister, even though she's at work, if I miss call her or whatever like that, either she texts me back within 30 minutes or an hour. She always asks me what's up.
Would you, is part of your belief that she would not, that you didn't entertain that thought that she would leave and say goodbye, have anything to do with how she felt about her children? In other words, would your sister have left her children?
No, I don't think so.
Would your sister have left you and your siblings?
No.
Would your sister have left your parents?
No, especially with my mom's help.
What do you mean by that?
She has mild stroke. It's like a couple of years ago. So they did a scan to her head. She has what they call it. I forgot. I don't know what the term is, a medical term.
Is the word aneurysm sound? right?
Yes.
And because of that, do you and your siblings particularly pay close attention to not add stress to your mother's daily activities?
That's correct.
And so, when you were asked about whether or not you thought your sister would voluntarily leave without saying goodbye, does the fact that your sister's feelings about your mother factor into that?
That's correct. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Recross.
During 2020, you knew that your sister wanted to separate from Mr. Millete.
Objection asked and answered.
And, well, that's just preface, you know.
Well, I'll allow it to see if it's,
Okay.
if it's building up to a question that relates to the redirect.
And in fact, she was living locked up or independent in her bedroom.
Objection lacks foundation.
Sustained.
Did you know that your sister was sleeping in a different bedroom than Mr. Millete in 2020?
Objection begs to time and lacks foundation.
It's
And
beyond the
hearsay.
scope of
Okay.
redirect.
Well, you knew that it was Mr. Millete who, in fact, discovered that your mother was sick and had a stroke, and not your sister, right?
Objection, relevance, calls for speculation.
Sustained. Both.
During 2020, Mr. Millete complained to you that your sister wasn't telling him anymore when he's leaving the house.
Objection.
Remember?
Beyond scope.
No, you can answer. She wants you to repeat the question.
Okay. You knew that Mr. and Mrs. Millete married life was over. You knew that because she told you that she wanted to get a divorce. They're no longer communicating to each other wherever they go. Correct?
She never told me anything about that.
And during the time when you were at the house on January 10th, 2021, that's exactly what Mr. Millete told you, that he would go and leave without telling him where she was going.
Objection.
Hearsay.
Hearsay.
Sustained. Next question.
You had no knowledge about the relationship regarding the type of relationship your sister and Miss Millete had during that time when Mr. Millete was asking for you to look for this other guy?
All right, that's beyond the scope. Next question.
In fact, when Mr. Millete was asking for your help, he did tell you that your sister was not really speaking to him.
Objection beyond scope.
Sustained.
Well, he testified they were not talking to each other during the New York trip, so
This recross is limited to the subjects that were covered on the redirect. And that question is outside the scope of the redirect
Okay.
test.
it was just regarding the fact that,
I have made my.
okay, you're out. That's it.
I have no other questions.
May the witness be excused?
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Please, your testimony. It's 10:30, we're going to take a 15-minute recess.
Okay, thank you.
defendant are present, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people call Brian Mansfield.
You swear on that, I have a question. Counsel, I meant to ask, what's our time estimate left?
For the prelim,
Yes.
I am hoping to have my last witnesses on by the end of the day tomorrow, possibly Monday.
Thank you. Just asking. You may swear in the witness.
Do you solemnly state under penalty of perjury that the testimony you provide in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Yeah, Brian Francis Mansfield,
Spell your last name, please.
Mansfield.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Mansfield, where do you work?
I work at the Naval Information and Warfare Center Pacific.
Is that something that you refer to by the initials NIWC?
Yes.
And how do you pronounce that in your workplace when you refer to your place of business? How do you refer to it?
Niwik Pacific.
And when you say Niwik, you would spell that NIWC?
Correct.
What do you do there?
I'm supervisor in the contracts department.
How long have you been employed with Niwik?
A little over 13 years.
Did you meet May Millete at some point?
I did.
When was that?
I believe it was in spring or summer of 2021.
Showing you what's projected up on the screen, 3-1. Do you recognize who that
Counsel,
is?
I believe he said 2021.
Sorry, 2020. My apologies.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor, for correcting that. Do you recognize who's that up on the screen?
Yes, that's May Millete.
Can you tell us how you came to meet Ms. Millete?
Sure. I was made aware that she was looking for a change in job, so I reached out to her, started a conversation, and then we ended up interviewing her and hiring her for a position at Niwik Pacific.
When did Ms. Millete start with Niwik?
21 June 2020.
Can you just, so we understand, what's the sort of dynamic between her former employer, Swarmac, and Niwik within the Department of Defense, just in terms of how someone might move jobs within the Department of Defense?
Right, they're different systems commands, different chains of command ultimately leading up to the same place, but quite separate. But the contracting community in San Diego is pretty small, people talk, a lot of networking. It's a totally different command, yet still under the Navy. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and when we're talking about contracting, can you just kind of briefly describe for us what that means?
Sure. Anything that the Navy wants to buy, they need contract specialists and contracting officers to buy it for them. We have the only ones that have the authority to obligate funds, federal funds, on behalf of the government. So.
And where is the Niwik Pacific offices actually located?
In Point Loma?
Did you, how did it come to be that did you actually seek out hiring Ms. Millete?
I did. Yeah, I was made aware that she was looking for a position. She had a great reputation at Swarmac, so that's when I reached out, made contact.
I think you said you hired her with a start date of June 21, 2020?
I believe so. I think I had the specific date and some notes.
I'm sorry?
I think I had the specific date in some notes that I provided, but I believe that was the date, 21 June
Okay.
2020.
And what did you hire Ms. Millete to do?
I hired her for a contract specialist position.
Was that the same thing she was doing at Swarmac?
I believe at Swarmick she was a supervisor in their contracts department, so this would be a position more in operations, more working level.
Do you know how much money, what her pay salary was going to be then at Niagara Pacific?
Yes, she took a downgrade in rank, but I believe it came with a pay increase.
Do you happen to know what her actual annual salary was?
Not off the top of my head.
Do you have any kind of approximate?
Maybe $130,000 a year, something in that range.
At the time that Ms. Millete was hired, were the employees in your office teleworking because of COVID?
Yes.
Did they come into the office at all?
Only to pick up equipment. If there was some other, emergent meeting or something where they needed to be there in person, but it was pretty rare for folks to be in the office.
When you say equipment, like computer?
Yeah, computer.
Did May Millete have a work laptop computer?
She did.
Did she have a work cell phone?
No.
What was her work schedule?
She worked Monday through Thursday, roughly 7 to 4:30, and then Fridays an 8-hour day, something like 7 to 3:30, and then every other Friday off.
Was that time, were those hours flexible? An issue that was discussed, I guess, among your employees?
Yes, it was a common issue for employees to have, needs at home that they had to balance with work and to shift their schedules accordingly.
Was work conducted over Microsoft Teams?
Yeah, Teams, email, and occasionally phone.
And what kinds of things were done through Microsoft Teams?
Chatting with employees about, all range of topics, and also phone calls as well through Teams, just to, everyday work, I'd say, pretty much everything.
Meetings?
Yeah, meetings. Mhm.
And was it sometimes a challenge for your employees to find a quiet place to participate in those meetings or get work done when also managing childcare at home?
Occasionally, you'd hear a dog in the background or, kids. That happened to all of us at home.
And did the teleworking continue through January 2021?
It did.
In general, when Ms. Millete was hired, how was her work product? How did she do when she began working for you at Niagara Pacific?
Yeah, well, there's a learning curve for every new employee that starts with our command. She was adapting well, though, between when she was hired and about the end of September. She was doing a great job. She got 9 different assignments, was able to get them all out on time. So, yeah, she was performing very effectively until about mid-November.
And at that time, did you see that her work started to suffer to some degree?
Yes, I did.
In December of, specifically December 18th, 2020, did you actually have a phone conversation about some problems she was having at home?
Yes.
And what was in general, what was the purpose of that phone call, or what was it that was communicated?
I think we were talking about her work and about some delays, and she offered that she was going through a separation with her husband and said it was very difficult. She seemed very emotional about it.
When you say she seemed emotional, what do you mean by that?
Tone of voice, pausing, You know, a little bit of reluctance to share it. It just seemed like, seemed emotional about it.
How many times did you actually meet May?
I met her in person once, maybe twice. Once for sure.
And then how did you communicate with her for the majority of the time?
Teams, Microsoft Teams, email, telephone.
So you were familiar with her tone of voice, generally speaking, during discussions about work?
Sure, yeah.
And so her tone of voice was different during this December 18th conversation?
Yes. Yeah, usually she was very, very upbeat and sounded, a little bit sad about it.
Would you
I mean,
say-
she mentioned directly also that it was hard, so it's pretty obvious.
Would you say that, in your experience working with her, she was professional?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very professional.
What do you mean by that?
She was very formal in a lot of her communications with me, very respectful, very helpful. Her writing was of high quality. She executed her assignments on time again until she started having some difficulty. She presented well. I mean, she came in the time I met her to give her the tour. She came in very well dressed. She just seemed organized and professional.
Did she, based on your observations and your experience working with her, did she appear to care about her job?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, she seemed to be somebody who cared deeply about her job and wanted to do well.
Did she discuss promoting with you at all?
She did before she came. She was interested in a higher level position that would be the same rank as what she had at Swarmick. I was candid with her about the challenges of getting that kind of position, but mentioned that if she did work on my team at a lower rank, that would position her well to compete for the higher rank. So she did demonstrate ambition. I think that was her longer term goal. She was willing to take one step back to take 2 steps forward, so to speak.
On January 7th, did you receive a text, on January 7th, 2021, did you receive a text from May Millete?
I don't recall specifically.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness to direct him to Court's Exhibit 35?
Yes.
Showing you Court's Exhibit 35. Do you recognize what's on that exhibit?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize it to be?
Text exchange between May and myself.
And what is the date of that text exchange?
January 7th.
When did, and this looks like 3 text messages, is that fair to say?
Yes, it appears to be one from her, one from me, and then another one from me.
Okay. And what was the subject matter of the text to you?
She was communicating basically that she wouldn't be able to work her normal hours.
And that text was at 11:19 a.m. from Ms. Millete?
That's correct.
Just going to project up on the screen this exhibit 35. Does that appear to be the same exhibit that you're looking at in the exhibit binder in front of you?
Yes, it is.
And specifically, the text in black, is this the one that was sent to you from Ms. Millete?
Yes.
Okay. Stating, Brian, my child care person didn't pan out today. I'm trying to work, but taking too much time tending to my son. I'm trying to find another alternative and try to make up hours by working later, but I'm unsure. We'll let you know if anything changes. Is that the text that Ms. Millete sent to you?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you respond?
I said sorry for the lag in my response. A crazy week for me. We'll explain later. Anyway, no problem.
Yeah,
Thanks.
sorry, sir, can you slow down?
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, sorry, so she's,
Sure.
transcribing everything you're saying.
No problem. Sorry. Sorry for the lag in my response. Crazy week for me. We'll explain later. Anyway, no problem. Thanks for letting me know. Just send your plan when you figured it out. No rush. Tomorrow, fine.
And, did you ever hear back from Ms. Millete after you sent that text?
I did not.
It appears that there's then another text, and the text at 7:14 p.m. on January 7th from you is in blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another text, Sunday, January 10th, 10:07 a.m., that's in green. First of all, what's your understanding as to the difference in color, if you know?
I think it means that iMessage is turned off.
iMessage being when it's an iPhone to iPhone text message is in blue.
I believe so.
And the green message that you sent, what was that message? Just the part that we can see.
Yeah, it says, "Hi May, I know it's Sunday, but everything okay? Your sister contacted me, worried about
Now, did you,
disappearance."
what was the purpose of sending that message that was in green? Why did you send it?
I sent that because I received a call from Mary Chris asking, letting me know that May had been missing and asking me if I had any information, asking me if she had worked on Friday.
And that call was from Mari Chris on January 10th, 2021?
That's correct.
And had you ever met Mari Chris before?
No, I had not.
What was Mari Chris's tone of voice?
She sounded concerned. She mentioned that they had a family trip planned to Big Bear, and that May had put it all together, that she didn't show up, that it was very, very unlike her to not show up. Yeah, she sounded very concerned.
And so as a result of that, you decided to send May a text?
Yes, exactly.
Did you ever hear back from May?
No.
Did you take efforts to determine whether or not May had worked on January the 8th, 2021?
Yes, went back to my computer, logged in, tried to see if there was any email activity, communication between me and myself, May and me. Couldn't find anything on January 8th.
And on a daily basis, would you expect to see emails during work hours?
During work hours, yes, absolutely, yeah.
So you would actually, if she had been working, you would have expected to see at least one email communication from May Millete?
If she had been working.
A communication with you or with others?
It's not uncommon. It's most often employees would communicate with me during a workday, but it's possible that an employee could be working and not communicate with me directly. But if an employee is working, it's almost certain that they're sending emails to somebody.
And you have the ability to check all the emails that are sent out, or were you just checking to see if something was sent to your account?
I was just checking to see if something was sent to my account, if there were any communication between me and the employee.
Thank you.
Did you take any steps to determine if there had been any evidence that May worked on January the 8th, 2021?
I can't remember if it was at that point or later, but yes, we did contact our IT department to try to get more information to provide to the Chula Vista Police Department.
And did you determine there to be any evidence that May worked on January 8th, 2021?
No, I have not seen any evidence that she worked on January
have you seen or heard from May Millete since January 7th, 2021?
No.
There's in order to get into your building at Nywick, do employees have some sort of access card?
They do.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, there's the Common Access Card, which is DoD wide, and then a very specific badge for the Naval Information Warfare Center Pacific. It requires both badges to access the base.
And looking up on the screen at 21-6, do you recognize some of the cards that are in that photograph? There are two photographs side by side next to a placard labeled 15. Do you recognize what some of those cards look like?
Yes, I recognize most of the cards, and the one on the far left is the Nywick Pacific badge.
What are the other badges, if you know?
The two NAVC badges are likely have to do with her work at swarming.
And then there looks to be another badge with kind of a red stripe across the top. Do you know what that is?
Not sure what the red stripe across the top means, but that, yeah, it says Formic on it, so I assume it had something to do with her work there.
And we'll note for the record, one, let's make sure 21.6 on the screen is what you've got in the exhibit book.
May I approach to help direct him to that exhibit?
You may. And also, he has been referring to, there are two photos on 21.6, and he's been referring to, I guess it doesn't matter. The IDs are the same in both photos. The photo to the left is a larger image, and it has a bag and a badge, a folder.
Yes, and so 21-6 in the binder in front of you, Mr. Mansfield, is that the same photograph or same two photographs that we're seeing up on the screen?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
All right. Cross-examination.
Thank you, Yana. Good morning, Mr. Mansfield.
Good morning.
During May's employment at Nywick, you only saw her 3 times, right?
I think I said I met her once, at least once in person, maybe twice.
Is that because she was working remotely from your office?
Yes.
And when she started working remotely, what was her schedule?
It was, I think I answered 7 to 4:30 Monday through Thursday each week, and then she would be off every other Friday. But the Friday where she was working, roughly 7 to 3:30. But again, there was some flex there based on.
Okay. And during the time when she was working remotely, there was no one supervising her physically, right?
That's correct.
So you would not really see her every day, what she would be wearing and whether she would be, you just stay home and work there and Julie. So can you give me an estimate as to when did she start working at home?
But that's compound. Compound, rephrase.
Okay.
We're asking about what she's wearing to work.
Oh, okay. So, sorry,
Some
okay.
other topic.
Let me just start with when did she start working at home?
When she started, 21 June.
In June of 2020.
Right.
And her position in your department was considered a downgrade
She took a downgrade in rank when she moved from Southwest Regional Maintenance Center to Niagara Pacific, yes.
And she was no longer supervising anyone.
That's correct.
You were aware of Miss Millete's marital problems, right?
Yes. To the extent that she told me she was going through a separation.
Your understanding was she was separated from Mr. Millete?
Objection asked and answered. Ms. State's testimony.
Sustain both grounds.
At some time or some point in time, while she was working for NIWIC, isn't it true that her work product started suffering?
That's true.
And can you give the reasons why her work product started suffering?
Calls for, yes, calls for speculation, sustained.
She gave you some reasons why she was not going to be able to come to work, correct?
Objection, Ms. State's testimony. She was teleworking.
Well, it's vague. The
Well,
last text does say she was having trouble doing her work assignment on that day. So, rephrase.
how many times did Miss Millete inform you that she was having difficulties coming to work?
I don't know the exact number of times.
You saw that during that one occasion she said she was not going to be able to go to work because of childcare issues, right?
Right.
Counsel,
Huh.
you can rephrase because she's working remotely. I mean,
Oh.
there's work that she can do, but you're giving the impression as if she has to actually physically travel somewhere. So, please rephrase.
The other times that Miss Millete was absent from work, what reasons did she give you?
Objection.
Yes, it seems you're assuming that's not in evidence. Rephrase.
During the entire time, I believe you said she worked there for 6 months, right?
A little over 6 months, yeah.
Over 6 months. How many times was she absent from work during the 6 months?
I don't have that information in front of me.
All right. When her work product started becoming deficient or suffering, what did you do?
I reached out to her. I set up some one-on-one meetings between her and myself to review her assignments in a higher level of detail and to map out the next steps for each of the assignments.
When you found out that Miss Millete was missing, you had an opportunity to ask the other personnel in your department, and you found out that Miss Millete did not communicate with any of the employees since Friday, January the 8th, 2021. Is that correct?
Objection, Ms. State's testimony.
Overruled. You can answer if you understand.
I'm not sure.
After Miss Mary Chris Dole informed you that May was missing, you contacted your work team, correct?
I don't recall specifically, but that wouldn't surprise me if that was true.
And you asked your work team if any of them had contacts with Miss Millete.
Do you have any kind of information I can take a look at to refresh my memory?
Okay. 268. Your Honor, can I approach the witness?
You may. All right, sir, she's going to show you a document that's going to refresh your recollection as to what you may have done or said. You can read it to yourself silently, and then after you've read it, you can look up and tell the court if that does in fact refresh your recollection.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, that refreshes my memory.
So it's true that you contacted your work team and inquired about communications with Ms. Millete, right? So what exactly did you do?
Well, wait a minute, he hasn't said whether
Okay.
he did or not. So, your recollection has been refreshed. Did you contact other individuals on the work team to determine if they had contact with her?
Yes.
And what did you discover?
That nobody had contacted May Millete or had heard from May Millete. That she had, in fact, in other words, gone missing.
Your Honor, may I retrieve the document?
Do you need it right now? You can have it.
Did Ms. Millete ask you for permission to be off work on January 8th, 2021?
I could not find a record of her asking to be off on that date.
Does that mean she didn't ask for it?
I believe so.
Okay. Did Ms. Millete ask you to be off work on January 11, 2021?
I don't believe I have a record that she asked me to be off on that date either.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master.
Redirect.
Yes, just briefly. I just want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. When you spoke with the employees on your team, how many employees did you have on your team?
Ranges between 12 to 15 people, so somewhere in there. I don't remember the exact number of people I had at that point in time.
And to be clear, has anyone heard from her on January the 8th, 2021?
No.
Did you also attempt to find out when her last login was on her computer?
Yes, I did attempt that, yeah.
And when was that?
I can't speak to that with any kind of certainty.
Did you attempt to find out whether or not there had been any activity on January the 8th?
Yes, it was discovered. My understanding is that her last email out was on January 7th.
And then you were also asked on cross-examination about Ms. Millete not making a request for leave on January the 8th. Is that common, uncommon? Kind of, if you can just kind of describe how it is, how formal that process is with you among your team when they take or request time off.
Objection big.
Do you understand the question, sir?
I do.
Over.
It's fairly casual and last minute. An email is required, but sometimes it's sent, last minute, or sometimes an employee may text me and say, I forgot to request leave. I'm going to take off today. I'll send you the formal request later. So it would not be uncommon that somebody planned to take leave and then forgot to send the request.
So if someone were planning to take a 3-day weekend and forgot to ask for Friday, they might ask sort of last minute, I was planning on taking this day.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Another question.
Recross?
I have no other question.
I guess I just have one question. Can you explain the procedure? You said that when she transferred to your department, she took a downgrade in rank, but it came with a pay increase?
That's right.
Just the sliding scale?
Yeah, each rank has a pay range, so they overlap. So you could take a downgrade in rank and yet get a pay increase. And actually, the pay increase was a representation of our interest in hiring May based on her qualifications and reputation.
Okay, anyone have any additional questions?
Just briefly, I have one question. Was it your understanding this was a voluntary move from Ms. Millete, that she chose to go to Medwick? Is that
Oh,
correct?
absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. Another question.
Any other questions?
No.
May the witness be excused.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. That completes your testimony. Next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. People called District Attorney Investigator Justin Bostic.
You solemnly state, under penalty of perjury, the testimony you provide in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Spell your last name for the record.
Justin Bostic, Bostic.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Where do you work?
Currently, I work for the San Diego County District Attorney's Office.
What is your job title?
I'm a DA investigator assigned to the Public Integrity Unit.
How long have you been assigned in that unit?
6 months, 7 months.
Prior to that, where did you work?
South Bay.
At the South Bay branch of the District Attorney's Office?
That's correct.
What was your assignment in South Bay?
It was basically I was assigned pre-trial investigation. So any information that came in needed for trials, any further follow-ups, I was just assigned to conduct any of the requests from the attorneys.
What's your prior law enforcement experience?
I worked for the Imperial County Sheriff's Office as a deputy sheriff. I started there in 2003 and left there in 2019.
And in May of 2022, were you asked to assist with preparation of the prosecution of a case involving May Millete?
Yes, I was.
What were you asked to do?
Specifically to look up open source information regarding search efforts.
Can you tell us what that means, open source?
Yes, so open source is publicly accessible websites or information on the internet.
Do you have experience as an investigator conducting investigations using open source?
Yes, I do.
And is there any particular expertise that you have in that regard?
So I have roughly over 300 hours of formal training, post-certified training involving undercover concepts, which is open source investigations, and utilizing the internet as far as social media and other aspects.
And specifically, what were you asked to do?
Look up search efforts that were conducted during the dates that May went missing up until I was requested in May.
And did that also include just media exposure in general with regard to her disappearance?
Yes, it did.
What did you find when you conducted this search?
There was a lot of information that was returned. Well over 150,000 items came back on just a search term.
Describe, if you can, what some of the things were that you found when you conducted the search.
Sure. There was news releases regarding disappearance. There was podcasts that had been placed on, I guess you could say, podcast sites. There was YouTube videos. There was multiple flyers released from, I guess you'd call them third-party organizations, nonprofit organizations.
And what was your understanding of the timeline of May's disappearance?
I believe I started the search somewhere around like January 7th, if I remember right.
And what did you do in order to document what you found?
I would open a link that I located during my search and would create a screenshot of what was located and copy the actual link to a report format.
And you documented that in a 19-page report?
I did.
And did you take some kind of screenshot as well, or capture of the link in order to document what it is that you found?
I would copy the link, and I would also take a screenshot of the image or conduct a download if it was a video or an audio file.
And did you document in some way the date and time associated with that link or photo?
Yes, I did.
You want me to approach the witness to direct him to Court's Exhibit 25?
Yes.
Showing you Court's Exhibit 25-1, do you recognize what is captured on that exhibit?
Yes, I did.
What is that?
That was a missing flyer that was posted on the Help Find Maya Facebook page.
Okay, and is this one of the items that you discovered when you conducted this open source research?
Yes, I did.
And tell us what was significant, or what the source of this photo flyer was.
Yeah, so this photo was on the Help Find Maya Facebook page, which was very, very large in public posts as far as locations of searches, posting requests for volunteers to help go out and search. This is one of the beginning posts when the flyer was first created.
And the Help Find Maya Facebook account, was that a public Facebook page?
It was a privately owned Facebook page, but it was publicly accessible.
And so in other words, you were able to find this easily searching on the internet?
Yes.
And what's up on the screen, 25-1, that's the same exhibit that's in the binder?
Yes, it is.
And that was posted on or about January 10th of 2021?
That would be correct.
And this had kind of personal identifying information about Ms. Millete, age 39, weight 105 pounds, height 5'2", and other identifying information.
Correct.
and it also had a last seen date and then a phone number to contact.
That is correct.
Looking at 25-2, do you recognize what we see in this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
And what is this?
This was another Facebook page. This one was Cal Advocates for the Missing.
And do you know what Cal Advocates for the Missing is?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
It's a nonprofit organization that was created around 2013 to assist families with resources in helping find their missing loved ones.
And then it appears that in this link, there was a, it says BOLO, B-O-L-O, and then it says Chula Vista, California, mother vanishes without a trace. What does BOLO mean to you?
Be on the lookout.
And then it appears that there's a screenshot of a video clip. Do you know what that video clip is a screenshot of?
That was a ABC 10 News video clip release. It looks like that the Cal Advocates shared on their Facebook page.
And is that a local news channel?
Yes, it is.
25-2 is the same exhibit that in the binder is you see up on the screen?
Yes, it is.
And that's also was a public webpage that you were able to find just conducting your open source search?
Yes, it was.
Looking at 25-3, can you tell us what we were looking at in this exhibit?
This was also from the same Facebook page, the Cal Advocates for the Missing. And this, I believe, was one of their flyers that they released.
So another sort of missing persons flyer with information about Miss Millete?
That is correct.
Okay. And again, had a phone number to contact if anyone were to locate or have any information about her whereabouts?
Yes, it did.
And 25-3 is the same exhibit that you see in the binder?
Yes, it is.
And that was posted on or about January 22nd, 2021?
That is correct.
Looking at 25-4, is the exhibit up on the screen the same exhibit that is in the binder?
Yes, it is.
What are we looking at in 25-4?
This was a open source also return of a flyer from looks like the Dateline NBC episode that was released. It looks like this is the flyer that was released under their episode.
This was in the Missing in America series?
Yes, it was.
And again, provided information about Miss Millete's last known whereabouts
Yes, it did.
and identifying information as well as a phone number to call?
Yes, it did.
And are you familiar with Dateline NBC?
Yes, I am.
Is that tell us what that is?
It's a well-known program that not only puts out for missing persons, but lots of other headline news information out.
Looking at 25-5, is this, and again, this is also a screenshot that you captured as part of, or a screenshot of a link associated with your open source research.
Yes, it is.
What are we looking at in 25-5?
This is also a Facebook post. This is from Lamar Advertising Company, owner of most of the, or a lot of the billboards. And this is a post that they released as reference to their YouTube.com video that talks about the billboards that they were putting out in reference to help find Maya.
So actual billboards that went up that had her photograph and contact number?
That is correct.
And this was something that you found that was posted on or about January 25th, 2021?
Correct.
Do you know if there was more than one billboard?
I only found one picture. I don't know if there was multiple. I do not recall.
Do you know where that billboard was located?
I do.
25-2.
I do. It was South Bay. I believe it was, I don't remember the actual street intersection, but it was in the South Bay area.
Showing you 25-6. Were these flyers also flyers that you found when you conducted your open source research?
Yes, they were.
I think we've already had testimony about those from May's sister. But these were flyers that, again, were publicly available when you conducted your search.
Yes, they were.
Looking at 25 and 25-6, just for the record, that was the same exhibit up on the screen that you see in the binder.
Yes, it is.
Looking at 25-7, do you recognize what we see on this exhibit?
Yes, I did.
And is that the same exhibit that is in the binder?
Yes.
That was projected up on the screen?
Yes, it is.
And why did you capture this particular open source video or screenshot?
So this was actually a video when I opened the link, and so I took a screenshot of just what the beginning of the page looked like when I opened it. And so this was in reference to a Good Morning America newscast.
And what is Good Morning America?
It's a well-known morning news show,
National or local?
national.
And this was on or about April 6th of 2021?
Yes,
Looking at 25-8, court's exhibit is what's projected up on the screen, the same exhibit that you see in the binder?
yes, it is.
And what was significant to you that caused you to screenshot this particular exhibit?
This was the opening page as well of a open source search, and it was in reference to Nancy Grace and her podcast stories of crime stories.
And this was featured on that podcast on or about April 6th, 2021?
Yes, it was.
Who is Nancy Grace?
She's a well-known, I guess, advocate for victims, and she tries to break down investigations and provide public knowledge to investigations taking place, reference to large case criminal activity.
And this might be common knowledge, but what's your understanding of how available this podcast would be? In other words, is it a locally available podcast? Is it national? Who can access a podcast like this?
Anyone across the world would be able to access this. It was on multiple sites. I believe this one was iHeartRadio, but it's also on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube. There's tons of sites that this is associated with.
Looking at 25-9, this is also a capture that you found during your open source research.
Yes, it is.
And 25-9 is the same projected up on the screen as it is in the exhibit? Or I'm sorry, in the binder?
Yes, it is.
And I think we've also had testimony about this from May's sister, that this was a show that aired April 12th, 2021.
That is correct.
And what's your understanding of the Dr. Phil show?
It is also a national, if not worldwide, show that airs major things happening within the world.
Looking at 25-10, do you recognize what's projected up on the screen as the same exhibit in the binder, labeled as 25-10?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and tell us about this exhibit.
This was the homepage of the Help Find Maya website, which was also, I believe a link was associated with the Help Find Maya Facebook page, which is how I got to this.
And this was created May 2nd, 2021?
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about what you found what was significant about finding this particular site?
This is a website that was placed on Facebook pages, search efforts, and it was well publicized as a location to find information, look for searches coming up, how to volunteer. There was a lot of information in the search efforts and related to finding Maya.
Looking at 25-11, do you recognize, first of all, the exhibit in the binder to be the same that's projected up on the screen?
Yes, it is.
And tell us what we're looking at in this exhibit.
This was a Facebook post on the Help Find Maya website. I'm sorry, Facebook post. It was a post on the Help Find Maya website, and it was in reference to the Facebook page of Help Find Maya. And these appear to be magnets that are being handed out to be placed on cars.
And these magnets also had pictures of Ms. Millete, along with identifying information about her, photographs and contact information.
That is correct.
And so, I guess just to be clear, so this was a website that had a link to the Facebook page?
That is correct.
And the Facebook page was public, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And this website that where you found this information, was that also public?
Yes, it was.
Looking at 25-12, is the exhibit in the binder the same as the exhibit that's projected up on the screen?
Yes, it is.
And this appears to be a flyer for an awareness rally dated July 24th, 2021. What was significant about this?
It was a rally held locally. It was, I believe, in Seaport Village, and it was also just another flyer out on publicly accessible searches.
Looking at 25-13, the exhibit in the binder, the same exhibit that's projected up on the screen?
Yes, it is.
And is this also something that you found during your open source search?
Yes, it was.
And what are you looking at in this exhibit?
This is a post on the Facebook page.
Being advertised in the Facebook page.
For you to be able to print your own flyers to also assist in trying to locate.
To locate Ms. Millete?
Yes.
Looking at 25-14, do you recognize what is in this exhibit? Do you recognize what's in the binder to be the same as projected up on the screen?
Yes, I do.
And what are we looking at in this exhibit?
This is also from the Help Find Maya Facebook page, and these are one of the posts that would be released in reference to information to assist or volunteer in one of the search locations and search efforts.
And this search happened to be in Hamul.
Yes, it did.
The date, August 22nd, 2021.
The search is going to be on the 22nd. The post was on the 18th.
In your research, looking at all these open source documents, did you see advertisements for various searches?
Yes.
About how many?
I wouldn't be able to put a number on it. Like I said, the return was well over 150,000 items, and so there was lots of searches.
25-15, you recognize the exhibit up on the screen to be the same exhibit that is in the binder?
Yes, it is.
And is this a magazine that you saw at some point during the investigation?
I saw the cover online.
And this would be People Magazine?
Yes, it is.
And what is your understanding of People Magazine?
It's largely publicized.
And there's a square around an individual in the bottom left corner. Do you recognize that to be May Millete?
Yes, I do.
Looking at 25-16, the exhibit in the binder, is that the same exhibit that's projected up on the screen?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and is this another open source flyer for a search that you located?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And again, just indicating another search occurring October 16th and 17th in Ocotillo Wells,
That is correct.
and that was posted October 11th, 2021.
Yes, it was.
Did the searches or advertisements for searches, did those continue throughout the year?
Yes, they did.
Looking at 25-17, you recognize 25-17 to be the same exhibit that's in the binder?
Yes, I do.
And this is, tell us about this exhibit.
This is also from the Help Find Maya Facebook page, and it is another flyer for a search taking place on October 30th, posted on October 26th of 2021.
And that was a search in Borrego Springs?
Yes.
Where's Borrego Springs?
It's San Diego County, but it's the eastern desert area.
Looking at 25-18, you recognize what's in the binder to be the same exhibit that's projected up on the screen?
Yes, I do.
And what, tell us a little bit about this exhibit.
This was a another 48-hour CBS Morning press release and it was a video. I believe this is just a screenshot I took of the front page when I clicked on the link.
And you noted in your report, it was season 34, episode 26, aired on March 7th,
Yes.
2022?
Yes, it did.
Okay, and tell us what 48 hours is.
It's a national news outlet that also produces, I guess, information and news releases in reference to large incidents or crimes.
And CBS Mornings, a CBS News channel, is a national or a local channel?
National.
And again, we looked at exhibits 25-1 through 25-18. Were there more open source documents, flyers, search efforts, exposure with regard to the disappearance of May Millete that are not included in this exhibit?
Yes, there was.
And 25-18, it says CBS Mornings, then you have NBC. Is that a mistake?
No, go ahead, if you could explain why it says NBC 40, well,
Yeah.
that is, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if that was my typo. I would have to actually click on the link and go back to look at it again, but it is a CBS Mornings release.
Okay, so I think that may be just a mistake. Okay, I have no other questions for this witness.
Okay, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Bostic.
Good morning.
Did you review any broadcasts or podcasts outside the United States?
Yes, I did.
Could you tell us about it?
There was multiple news releases that were on, and I got to say that I think some of them were in Australia, some of them were out of like England. But the websites, what I would do is once I went to the website, if it was in a different language, Google would give me the opportunity to translate into English. Therefore, I would be able to understand what was being written. So there was podcasts, there was videos and news articles that were being shared from local or national news organizations from the United States.
Okay. And do you have ideas of when that occurred? Was it 2021 or 2022?
Don't remember what the dates were of what I documented, but my search was from January 7th of 2021 through whatever date it was I conducted my search.
When was the last search that you reviewed? What date?
It would have been a 2022 news release, I believe.
Recall the month again?
The last time I did my search, you mean?
Right.
Oh, I believe it was November, December of 2022 when I did the search for international.
Do you have quantity-wise how much you accumulated as far as TV broadcasts?
Well, that's calling for discovery. So, but it's sustaining objection.
Or podcasts, if you know?
But the objection is sustained.
The conclusion thus far with your work, did you find anything that would give you any clues today to find Miss Millete?
I did not.
Thank you. Ann.
Redirect.
I have no questions for you.
Did witness be excused?
Yes.
Okay, sir, that concludes your testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, recess for lunch. We will resume at 1:30.